Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on FPL Now. Today we're going to be going over a potential wildcard draft for Double Gameweek 22. So if you're excited for the video, make sure to drop a like down below. Leave a comment, what players are you thinking of bringing in for this game week? Subscribe if you're brand new. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the video, and I really hope that you enjoy. So, starting things off, before we get into the potential wildcard draft for Double Gameweek 22, just want to reiterate the fact that the Double Gameweek hasn't necessarily been confirmed yet. Both United and Leeds will double if their kind of FA Cup games go in their favour, which, I mean, they should. They're both favourites, so it's like a 75% chance of this double happening. But before making any transfers or anything this game week, remember that the doubles could technically still be called off. The Arsenal City one is guaranteed the week after, but the Game Week 22 double is still a little bit in doubt. But either way, this is the wildcard draft that I am going with if I was going to use it this week, which I potentially still might. Depends on like injuries and whether the doubles get confirmed and stuff like that. But either way, in goal, we do have Kepa and Ward. Chelsea's fixtures are still actually really, really good. They have kind of sorted it out at the back a little bit in terms of their defensive numbers and stuff. And as well as that, Reece James has apparently been given the all clear. You know, he's back from injury. I think that Graham Potter said that he will actually play some part in the Fulham game. But with Reece James being back, it will just sort them out defensively. It will sort them out attacking wise as well, because he's just such a good player at getting those balls in the box and stuff, and he's just such a massive player to get back. I think Chilwell's also been seen in training as well, so that'll help shaping up the defense. So yeah, I think that Chelsea's defensive woes could be a thing of the past over the next couple of game weeks, and they do have some really nice fixtures coming up. They've got Fulham, West Ham, Southampton, which are obviously three pretty okay fixtures, two of them being at Stamford Bridge. The Tottenham game again could go either way. It could be like another Liverpool situation where it's 0-0, and then they've got Leeds as well. So yeah, Chelsea do have some nice fixtures coming up. There are other keepers as well that you could bring in, but a lot of the good keepers that people want to bring in do all blank in game week 25. Like Raya most likely is going to blank in game week 25. Sanchez is most likely going to blank in game week 25. You've got the Arsenal keeper. You've got the obviously Nick Pope as well. Like all of these goalkeepers that people want to bring in from the good defensive teams will blank. And I just think for 4.5, I think Kepa is just a staple that you just keep in your team. You know, I think, but at the start of the season, if you were told that you were going to be able to put in a 4.5 mil Chelsea keeper that's going to start every single game into your team, I think you'd be laughing. So yeah, I think Kepa, and he's obviously just got a 10 and a 9 pointer as well, so he's obviously rewarded people that have stuck with him. But yeah, I think he's a decent option. And then yeah, Ward's just done there just in case. You know, it's a 4.1 mil playing keeper. You may as well spend an extra 0.1 and just get a playing keeper as opposed to a 4 mil keeper that's not going to play. So anyway, that is the back line. That's the goalkeeper, should I say. The back line consists of Ben White, Bueno, Stones, Shaw, and Trippier. So you do have to start taking into account the blank in game week 25, because it is only a few game weeks away. And if you're on your wild card this week, you don't want to bring in a ton of United, Newcastle, Brighton, and Brentford players who are all mostly likely going to blank in game week 25. Even more so Newcastle and Brighton now, because Newcastle did just beat Southampton 1-0 away last night in the Carabao Cup semi-final, and then now they play at Newcastle. So yeah, they're basically going to be through. And obviously Forest play United tonight. It's at the City ground, so hopefully we can get something from that game. But again, if United just destroy us later, then yeah, it's very much likely going to be the United, Brentford, Brighton, and Newcastle teams that will be blanking in game of 25. But anything is possible. So that's why this draft doesn't necessarily have like a ton of like Newcastle and stuff like that, and Brentford and Brighton and everything. But yeah, this is the back line. I do still have 0.6 mil in the bank, so that Bueno could become a Newcastle defender if you didn't want to do that, and then, you know, obviously just transfer them out later down the line. But it also becomes a benching headache as well, and it's obviously just saving you a free transfer down the line as well. So yeah, I think you don't need it as well. With the players that I've got on this draft, you don't really need another Newcastle player. I mean, it is nice to have double Newcastle defense, especially for that West Ham and the Bournemouth game coming up. But then they've got Liverpool, Brighton, City. They blank in 25. It might not be worth it, and you know, maybe worth saving that transfer down the line. But either way, it's completely up to you, because like I said, there's about 0.6 mil still in the bank for this draft. But yeah, got Ben White as well. A lot of people think that 3 attacking Arsenal players is better, the likes of Ødegaard, Saka, and Nketiah. And while that may be the case, there's not that many defensive options. Like, if Brighton weren't blanking, I'd obviously be bringing in a Brighton defender right now. And, you know, maybe even Brentford as well, because they've got some pretty nice fixtures as well. But because there's not that many decent options, I've gone Ben White, who still is a really good option, you know, for 4.6, 4.7 mil. He's got the double coming up, and obviously Arsenal are a really good team at the back. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've gone Stones over like Ake and Akanji. I just think he's the most nailed City defender at the moment. If you didn't want to take the risk, you could bring in somebody else, or you could, I guess, just bring in maybe a Chelsea defender and just upgrade Kepa to an Edison. That's always an option as well if you wanted to do that. But City have been actually conceding quite a few goals lately, so I don't think it's a necessity to have a City defender. Plus, there's so much rotation as well. So if you did want to kind of skip the Stones play and go with Edison instead, it, you know, equally work out, I'm sure. Speaking of Shaw, Luke Shaw's obviously in the team as well, and then Trippier as well. They are both nailed for any kind of wild card you'd be making this week. They have to be in the team. But yeah, in terms of this back line, like I say, Bueno could change out for a Brighton defender or another Newcastle defender if you wanted to. It just depends if you want to save a transfer down the line. And again, it would be a benching headache with the rest of this team. But let's move on to the rest of the team. The midfield is Saka, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, Mahrez, and Ødegaard. So Saka and Ødegaard, I think, are just the best two attacking options for Arsenal at the moment. They're both 90-minute men. Ødegaard's on set pieces. I know Martinelli is as well, but Ødegaard is also on set pieces. He's pushing a lot more forward now. Saka's on pens. And again, Nketiah is a really nice option, but we'll get into why we've gone with a different striker later on in the video. But yeah, Saka and Ødegaard, I think, are really nice options. They've both got the double coming up. Like I say, Martinelli is also okay as an option. Like, I think if you own Martinelli, you're not necessarily in a rush to get rid of him. He should still be starting over Trossard, but I think his minutes will be kind of drained a little bit with Trossard coming into the squad. And also, I think Trossard had a pretty decent 20-minute debut as well against United. So, yeah, I don't know. I think as a Martinelli owner, I wouldn't get, like, super worried at the moment, but you may want to start looking into getting rid of him for an Ødegaard or a Saka or something a little bit down the line. And then I brought in Mahrez as well, just as that City midfielder. I mean, Pep's just been praising him really lately. He's been starting a lot more games. He's getting 90 minutes in a lot more games. And he's really cheap as well, 7.6 mil. And I guess if Haaland isn't on the pitch, then I guess Mahrez would also be on penalties as well, because he has taken them quite a few times in the past. So yeah, if Haaland does score another hat-trick, he comes off, and then they get a penalty, you're looking at Mahrez to take it. So not a bad option as well. And again, you have a player that is most likely going to start. He's much more in favour than the likes of Foden and stuff for around that price range. Of course, De Bruyne is also a player that is in really good favour. But again, I don't think that it's a massive situation. They're both kind of scoring the same amount of points. Well, I guess they're not. Mahrez is completely out of the water with the amount of points. But I guess, like, you know, over the last game or whatever, they've both got like an assist and stuff like that. But yeah, I think for a lot cheaper, I think Mahrez is a nice option. And again, if his minutes do start getting drained and stuff, and he does start playing a lot less, you can always downgrade him to somebody like Matoma or a March or somebody like that who's a lot cheaper. And it just gives you a lot more money in the bank for like a different player to upgrade. So that's why I've got Mahrez. And of course, you've also got your 3 City players here as well, and your 3 United players, and you're also your 3 Arsenal players for all the doubles that are coming up. So it kind of like helps you out in that situation as well. And with this team as well, for blank game week 25, you've only got Shaw, Trippier, Rashford, and Bruno Fernandes, who are going to be blanking in 25 most likely. So out of those players, you only really need to get rid of one of them, which is probably going to be like Fernandes, and then you just upgrade or downgrade him to a different player, and then you're sorted for blank game week 25 as well. So again, you're not really bringing in too many players. That's another reason why, like, you don't necessarily need another Newcastle player. Like, if you wanted to, instead of Bueno, you could bring in a Newcastle or a Brighton player. But like I say, it's just an extra transfer down the line where you need to get rid of Fernandes anyway. But from game week 20, like 3 to 25, you obviously got a few transfers. So do you really want to be using those on like a defender just to take him out just for a couple of games? I don't think it's worth it personally, but again, it is another option you could take. So that's the midfield there. I really, really like this midfield. I think they're all really, really in form. They've all got doubles coming up, and yeah, I think this is probably one of the best midfields you could have at the moment. Maybe like De Bruyne would be a little bit better, but you just obviously can't work him into this midfield. Anyway, up top we have Kane, Haaland, and then the lead striker. I don't know how to pronounce his name off the top of my head. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if the G is silent. I don't know if it's Gnonto or Nonto, but either way, this is the Leeds player that I think people should be thinking about bringing into their team as like a third striker if you are wanting to play like a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2 or something like that, because obviously Mitrovic potentially injured. Tony's got the whole suspension thing kind of weighing over him. Nketiah is an option as well, but again, he's a little bit more expensive, and I think that with this double coming up, as well as the fact that he's getting a lot more minutes, I think he's a decent option. Like, if you take a look at his minutes, 90, 90, 90, 69, 90, 45, 45. So he's obviously been getting a lot more minutes lately. And he's been playing really well as well. He's been scoring goals. He's been a really, really good player for Leeds, so I don't think he's going to be losing his spot. And I know that Bamford obviously has been coming back from injury as well, but you know, he's not necessarily been getting subbed on and that subbed off, and that is with Bamford coming on. So it's more like Rodrigo getting subbed off for Bamford. So it looks like Gnonto is a really nice player. They've got a double coming up, so you could even play him this week, obviously, if you wanted to. But he's basically just bench fodder, a player that is playing, and he's only 5 mil as well, and it just allows you to put those funds elsewhere into your team. So again, this is the team that I've kind of come up with on my wildcard draft. If I do play my wildcard draft, this is the team I'm going to be going in with. Again, it's just the idea of, do you bring in a different player for Bueno, like a Newcastle or a Brighton player? But again, I don't think it's needed to, because this week you would literally play White, Shaw, Trippier, and then you'd play, you'd probably do a 3-4-3. Yeah, you'd play White, Shaw, Trippier, and then you'd play Saka, Fernandes, Rashford, and Ødegaard, and then you'd play your 3 strikers as well, because you don't necessarily need to play Mahrez this week, because it's just Spurs away. And you've got a double striker as well, who's probably going to start both games, most likely, from what his minutes are looking like. And then the week after, you've obviously, that's where the benching headache starts happening. Like, you obviously need to play your 3 City, your 3 Arsenal, your 3 United. But yeah, that's just the kind of situation where you would be at with this wildcard draft. But I do really like it, and it's something I would be looking at. It kind of sorts you out for blank game week 25 as well. Like, the only headache you've got is who you take out for, you know, blank game in 25. Is it Fernandes, Rashford, Shaw, or Trippier? So yeah, that's the wildcard draft. If you guys enjoy it, please do drop a like down below. Leave a comment. Are you thinking of wildcarding this week? Subscribe if you're brand new. Ring the notification bell. It's everything from me, though. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and until next time, peace.